Pereira versus Prochazka. Guys, who do you have? And I want to hear. Give me an answer. You'll enjoy this piece more. We'll make it interactive. Who do you have? Just throw it out real fast. Who do you got? Pereira, Prochazka, world title, 5 rounds. Who do you got? Interesting. Pereira's the favorite. Is that what you said? That surprised me. I like Pereira in that fight. I'm not sure I'm predicting him. That'll be another conversation. I like him in the fight. Prochazka, being an underdog, he's returning for the belt that he never lost. That's interesting to me. And I don't think head-to-head they would have been Pereira on top. Now, DraftKings has them awfully close. I should disclose that. It was like -145 to +125. I understand that they're close, but it still hedges on the side of Pereira. Look, if I took you back 2 years, that is not what DraftKings would have had it. If I took you back to when Prochazka won the belt, back to when he was champion, and told you his next opponent is going to be Pereira, if that was the time frame, Prochazka would have been the favorite. And we've got a few moving parts here. I mean, Pereira has become a number 1 contender in record time. And there's a few things that helped that to happen. And Pereira, as great as he is 1-1 in his last 2. And Pereira, as great as he is, has won 1 fight within the weight class. Now, clearly there's more to the story. We don't dispute that Pereira is the right guy. I'm sharing for you for DraftKings to have Pereira as the favorite. I mean, what a meaningful difference. What a difference a day makes. As much as Pereira might be 1-1 in his last 2, Pereira was the world champion of 185 pounds in this calendar year. Should Pereira become the world champion at 205 pounds in this same calendar year, he is eligible, and I believe the front runner, for Fighter of the Year. He would get my vote for Fighter of the Year. Which again, if we went to DraftKings and presented the idea that Pereira was a front runner for Fighter of the Year 2 years ago, we would have been laughed at. That would be silly. The good folks at DraftKings would likely respond with, "Who's Alex Pereira?" I don't know if I've seen a guy cover more ground quickly. And this is off the top of my head. Like, Errol Hawani is really great with dates and venues. I'm not super great, but I'm not bad. And I believe that Pereira main event in Madison Square Garden for one of his last 2 fights against Adesanya. I think one was at MSG and one was Vegas. I just get which was which. And my only point is, now you have a guy who DraftKings wouldn't have even known, let alone would DraftKings put as the favorite to a fight 2 years ago, 1 year ago. They never even put him in the position or put him in a prediction to be in the position of fighting for a world title at this weight class. Making his second return for titles in main events at Madison Square Garden. What an incredible career. What an incredible story in such a short period of time for Alex Pereira. How will he do it 205 pounds is always going to be a question. He's only done that once, and we can all see he's a very big guy. He got the height of a heavyweight. So we believe that he can do 205 pounds, but we've also seen some great fighters come up and test that theory. Israel Adesanya, by example. And it turns out to be a demonstrative challenge. You also then have Prochazka, who, while now being the underdog, 2 years ago when he tapped out Glover, if you made this fight, DraftKings would have had him an overwhelming favorite. I'm just sharing. I don't know that there's anything new with Pereira. There's nothing new within his training, nothing really new within his skills. There's an observation by us that he was a lot better than we knew or expected him to be. Okay, fair enough, but that's shame on us. Now you're going to put that, because I'm trying to figure out why 2 years ago would DraftKings have Prochazka at an overwhelming favorite? Why would DraftKings not even have recognized Pereira a year ago? What is different now, aside from us seeing? But you also have the other side, which is a suspected, at least historically, decline by somebody who's been outed as returning. A very big respect was shown to Prochazka to put him in this position. there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of team players, which includes Jamal Hill, or this opportunity simply doesn't exist. Fair enough. Prochazka did for someone else, which turned out to be Jamal. What Jamal has now done, which turned out to return the equal favor to Prochazka, but that's still an incredible story. That's not one DraftKings would have predicted. And is this a situation that's as simple as, Chael, the answer is Pereira turned out to be better than we knew he was? Is it as simple as that, or is DraftKings also factoring in the idea that Prochazka is going to be reduced? It's a return fight. It never gets looked at as a comeback fight if a guy didn't retire first. You cannot have a comeback fight if you don't retire first. But you can be out for the same amount of time as a guy that was retired, which is what Prochazka's doing. You can be out for the same amount of time as a guy that was retired. They just won't call it a comeback fight, but it will look at it and the odds makers will reflect it. And is that what DraftKings has done here? Because it's a very big surprise. And what is it that Prochazka is going to be off on? What is it we believe is going to be off? His timing, his conditioning, his speed. I mean, those things that are all really carried his career. When you talk about heart, you talk about grit, you talk about desire. All you're talking about is a guy's conditioning, nothing else. Conditioning is just not near as fun to say. You want to think you got a special guy that was born and raised different out there in the sand mines. There was something that can't be duplicated. It can be duplicated right now. Are you willing to work hard enough? Are you willing to get in that kind of shape? Because if you are, you will also have grit, determination, and heart greater than others. So is that what we believe is going to be diminished? And I don't know that I'm arguing with DraftKings. I haven't given my prediction. I like Pereira in the fight. I do very much. I think I'm leaning towards Pereira, but I also thought that I was going to be an oddball when I said it. I was stunned to find that DraftKings has him as a negative 145 to a plus 125 over Pereira. It wouldn't have been that way 2 years ago. It wouldn't have been that way 1 year ago. And now we only got one question left. Is DraftKings right?